Welcome to the Pawn Sacrifice channel and part 43 of the 924S, which is just there, turbo build, so the little Audi VW engine edging ever closer. After a fairly relaxed week of work last week, doing some simpler jobs than I thought, actually, to be fair. It's back on to the stuff that makes me cry. We got a little way last time, or I was doing stuff with the exhaust system and it wasn't really working out. Everything, because of the way that I've tried to make this up to keep it cost effective, I've just got the original exhaust system and I've got a load of pre-built sections or pre-made sections that I was hoping to repurpose, and that's not quite going according to plan. So we have got this obviously is the centre section, so I've shortened this down to move everything back so that I've got room for the high flow catalyst, but things aren't quite going the way that I would like. I tried to fit this pipe on here on the end there, and that didn't go so well, whereas having to kind of bend it over, there's lots of gaps and it was just getting a bit nasty. So what I've done is bought some stainless step down sections, so hopefully you can see that where that's moving down there. So this will obviously just fit in certain places and then it will have to be trimmed to fit. So I'm hoping this will solve some of my issues. I need to remove this obviously to start with. So that's going to be task number one. And yes, so I'm going to get that done. First up, I'm going to have a look on, now that the turbo's back on there, I'm just going to see where I need to modify this downpipe. It's got a flex joint in it, and I've never quite appreciated before, actually, with these flexy sections, how unflexible they actually are. I mean, obviously when the engine's moving about and there's a lot of torque, there's some flex in there. I've also got another section, so if I need to shorten the back down a bit, then I'm going to use this to try and do that as well. So that's all good. But yeah, I'll start off with the centre box and then work out from there exactly what I need to do. That was actually on there better than I thought, or as I feared. There's something always slightly frustrating when you're going through trying to take bits apart that you've welded because they've not been welded well enough and you just can't get them off. That's one of those things. So now the thingy jig rigidity, whatchamacallit, is time to spring into action. So if we look here, we can see the sizing is right on that one. So it needs to be, so I need to cut that across there and then get those together. And I think what I'm going to do is, or what the plan originally was to then go up to this one, which is, yeah, that size. And looking at it there, that goes on to, size-wise, I mean, that's a mess, but that goes onto that ring there. So it's that section that I need for this particular bit. They're all a bit wonky at the moment, so I need to straighten those out, or I need to work out which bits need to be straightened, which bits I can get away with as they are. Yeah, ideally I would have used the big saw, but I just think that would have been too difficult on pieces this small, and I'm fairly certain that the cheapo bandsaw wouldn't have worked with this, so it is what it is. Okay, I can't show you the other one because that's too hot, but yeah, that's all nicely cut down now. So what I am going to do is, before I start looking at these bits and getting everything set up, I'm just going to take a couple of the offcuts of that and there, and just have a go and just get the settings dialed in as much as I can do on the TIG welder before I get started. Okay, so I think I've kind of got the welder settings dialed in to roughly where they should be, so it's now down to me not making a pig's ear of this. This one section, which is going to go on to the existing centre section, the V-band. So what I had to do with this, that's really tight fit in there. So I just put it in the vise and then just did tappy all the way around until it eventually nudged its way in, and it's now sitting there pretty well. So I'm hoping just to run around the edge will sort that out a treat. So I've got this section, which is actually a bit or a lot looser. So what I might do there is, I don't know if these are supposed to go in a particular order, but I may just go around the inside there. The V-band bit is too thick to bend, and similarly, so when it comes to, so I want this on one end of the cat. Frustratingly, that's just a smidge too big. Be just to run a bead of weld around there. That'll then give something for it to butt up against, and then hopefully will allow me then just to run round and then weld the weld, so that essentially layering it up. So that's not gone particularly well so far. Managed to make a right old mess of a lot of it. I'm not afraid to say that, but then I never am. But it is getting there. What I've done is, and this is my recommendation for any of you that find yourself in this kind of situation where it's just becoming a bit frustrating, is put it down, go do something else. I've just been out for a bike ride because we're still allowed to do that. My God, if that ever ends, I don't know what I'm going to do. But yes, so I've just been out, done my little bike ride, and now come back a bit more relaxed and ready to get back in again. I'm going to test a theory now, but I have a feeling that part of the problem has come from me being too scared about blowing through this thinner bit, that I've not been getting enough heat into the thicker part. So it's not been, it's just basically not been welding properly. So I've turned it up a little bit more. I might just do a quick grind back again. I've been really careful with the grinding. I've had problems before when I've had problems, ironically, and I've been grinding stuff back, and what's the problem then? Oh yes, I've gone through the welds trying to tidy them up, but then I've gone too deep into the underlying material, and that's just made it really thin, and then you just end up going back and back and back and back and back and back. So sometimes I will settle for things just looking a bit scrappier, just to get everything done and dusted properly. So yes, I'm going to put the helmet out of the way and do a bit of a grind, and then have another go at some welding before it gets too late to be grinding, because it's starting to get on in the evening now, so I don't want to be selfish, because I know everyone's home. And I'm back. This is a few days later. I've been doing quite a bit of practicing on pipe and on the flat stuff as well. This seems to be mixed results. I'm starting to get better, but I just need to get on with this. I've kind of come to the decision that I suspect I'm going to have to redo the exhaust system at some point, so I'm going to go into this with a kind of nothing to lose type attitude. I really just want to get this done now. The paste that I had been using, which is like a flux that's meant to, or that is designed to go on the back and stop what's it designed to stop the chuggering, wasn't really doing anything. In a lot of instances it was catching fire. So I found an old, or one of the little argon bottles that I've had lying around, and I'm going to use this and just try and back purge the bits as I go. Hopefully I'm going to be able to get to them and not use up too much gas doing that, because I don't have a lot. So yeah, let's just get the camera pointed at the stuff and see how it goes. This is the nervy bit, because I'm now trying to weld thicker stuff to thinner stuff as I start to put the band clamps on, but I'll show you. So there we have it, foil around the edge to keep most of the gas in. Let's get that turned on. That's pretty much went as well as I could have hoped for, with the exception of one or two spots that's that I needed to go back and do. That's all nicely, well, I say nicely, I suspect anyone that knows what they're doing would call out everything that's wrong with this, but honestly, please don't spoil it. I'm so happy right now. So this is, let me just see, let's try and get in here. So yeah, that's my first proper attempt at welding a V-band on. So that's just one side, and then this will be, that'll then be welded onto the exhaust, and then the other section I need to get on and get that welded to, I can't remember what now, but oh, that's such a relief. So yeah, this was the easier one though. So I think the next section is going to be more difficult, mostly because there's gaps all the way around. But honestly, it probably doesn't look it, but I am so happy with this. Oh, this is such relief, you wouldn't believe it. If it wasn't so hot right now, I'd probably kiss it. It's just, oh. Anyway. Okay, now it's V-band onto the bottom of the pipe that's going on to the cat. Slight advantage that I've got here, I hope, is that where it's going on to the cat, that's a lot bigger and there's a lot more there to absorb any heat, so hopefully that's going to help. The big downside though is this gap that I've got going around the edge, so I'm just going to have to take this really slowly, be really cautious and try not to spoil my earlier victory. So yeah, let's get on with this. I've set the back purging to come up from underneath, just put it on a couple of little bits of stuff, and that's really just because I'm basically welding into that corner, so it's easier obviously to do it there than it is to do it if the corner's there. I almost don't want to do this because I don't want to spoil my good day, but let's press on. Okay, so that's the tacks on. basically when I did one side, it's pulled it really tight, so the gap on the other was a lot bigger than I was expecting. I think I probably butted the wrong side up close. So yeah, so a little insight into me. Everyone thinks this, well, not everyone, but most people tend to think this is a bit weird. When we go out for pizza, I tend to go around and eat all the crusts first, and then have the good stuff afterwards. And I think I'm going to apply that pizza method to this bit. So I'm going to work through the horrible section with the big gap, which I think is going to cause me problems, and then hopefully get on to the good tasty bit in the middle afterwards. I just need to make sure that if I get through the nasty bits, then I don't get cocky when I get to the supposed easier section, or the bit which is a bit more like what I did here. Yeah, what an emotional roller coaster this is. Well, once again, that actually went better than expected, and yeah, I think I kind of learnt what I was doing a bit from doing the first one. And in fairness, the angle that I'm then looking at the end of the puddle, I think really helped on this. So I might adjust my always going to be slightly wonky welding methods to accommodate that kind of welding style. But you can't, I wonder if you can see, get some light in there. So essentially that's the little thing that's gone on, and it's not too shabby. I mean, it's not brilliant by any stretch of the imagination, don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here thinking, oh, I've cracked welding, because I really haven't, but that is better than I was expecting. Not blown through at all, which is kind of what I was expecting to do. So yeah, really pleased about that. So I'm going to take this off now and see about getting this little fella here and weld it onto the centre box. Okay, that went on a bit messier than the bits that I was worried about doing, which is a bit bizarre. So I've got my 2.5 inch V-clamp, which is great. That then goes into this, now looks like a rocket launcher type thing. So I've got that all set up. I was going to then start connecting stuff on this end, but actually, how am I going to do this? I think I need to start, so I need to start modifying this piece, because actually I think I want to keep the cat quite small and compact, and maybe not too much out the front. I might have a, let me see. Okay, after the success of yesterday, I've got the centre section on the car. It does need to move back ever so slightly, so I'm going to have to tweak the rear section. On the rear section, there is a bit where it's flattened around the bottom of the anti-roll bar, so I've ordered some new sections to put in there so that when I do cut that down, that should all fit. But the first thing I need to do in trying to understand where all this goes is I'm going to have a look and just, well, I need to shorten this down. At the moment, the point at which that gets to the bottom and needs to be going back is about there. So obviously that needs to then move back. So what I'm going to do is cut it here and here so that that then can move up. I might have a look and just see where this leaves it, but I don't think I'm going to leave the V-band fitting on there. I think it's going to be moved underneath more. Right, so that's now marked up and ready to go. So the exhaust is attached, or the top section is, and you can kind of see where it disappears down. Right, this keeps on escalating, so based on looking underneath, I probably need to take about 70 mil out, but I'll probably try and do 100 just to shift this back, or towards the back of the car by 100 mil. And to do that, and this is what I mean it's escalating, I have the standard exhaust. So this is the section that I think I'm going to take it out of. So if we start at the back section, you can see it's a bit crooked there. That obviously needs to be redone, but it's given me an idea of distance if this is what I work to. Centre section's all good, and actually the CAD has ended up where I wanted to, so that's pretty good. Okay, so the end result isn't quite there yet. A bit done on the downpipe, that's roughly pointing where I want it to be. The back section, I'm just going to wait until the bends and what have you come through, and then try and get that sorted, and open up that section of pipe that's been crushed. So there's a bit of wasted time there, but frankly it was the worst job that I'd done out of all of it. So yeah, all in all, I have to say I'm feeling rather pleased. The downpipe sections went okay. Actually getting the V-bands on there, that went a lot better than I was expecting. To be honest, I was really dreading that. The learning from this was just keep going back and actually looking at the material. And I called this out on Instagram, but actually huge thanks to Justin at the Fabrication Series channel, which is one of the ones I recommended the other week. It's been a massive help, and going back actually and looking at the tips and things that he says about what I should be doing, not me necessarily, but what one should be looking out for. That's been a huge benefit for me on this, and yeah, I feel that I come kind of over a bit of a hurdle with the welding, which is great. I don't think the foot pedal works at all, which sucks because that would be better, although it just adds another layer of complexity. The one thing I have learned obviously is that I don't work particularly well trying to TIG weld when I'm in awkward positions, which is what we saw with the back box there. So it's not quite done, but I'm just gonna keep on going. This just seems like a good time. I suspect this is probably quite a long video already, so I'm gonna string this all together and hopefully get uploaded fairly quick. But just know in the meantime, you know, it's lockdown, it's Easter, so I'm just going to be carrying on regardless. But yeah, I hope everyone is keeping well, keeping your hands washed, staying away from people, and self-isolating with your cars and any other projects that you've got. If you haven't got one on the go, start having a look and maybe think about doing it. I mean, I came into this with very little practical experience of this kind of thing, so it really is for everyone. And yeah, thanks for sticking with it this far, and with a bit of luck this is going to keep going in terms of momentum, and we'll be making some real progress. See you soon.